My guest tonight is Unathi Msengana, singer, songwriter, morning host, Idols judge, mother, husband, wife. Wife to bad boy, I believe.
I know.
Anyway, we'll keep that later. Unathi, you know, when I mentioned I was going to see you, people get very excited. But the first thing they say to me is, Idols judge. Oh. How's that changed your life?
It's so amazing that you say that, because a lot of people always just go, how is Idols? And it really has changed my life, Dave. The two things I'm obsessed about the most in life, people and music. I get to experience those in abundance through Idols. I get to be a part of ordinary dreams. I get to be a part of changing people's lives. I get to be a part of that joy, all that emotion, all that hope. But also what it's done for me is, you know, previously in my professions, it's kept me to a specific demographic. And that was very different to what I grew up to. I grew up overseas in England in a very cosmopolitan setting. So Idols has brought me back. I thought you were a
Grahamstown girl.
Well, I was born in Grahamstown, and I went back for high school and varsity. But the 12 years in between, I spent 4 years in Namibia and then 8 years in the UK. So Idols has brought back that global village for me again, where I speak to everybody and anybody, from a 6-year-old to a 90-year-old.
Is it difficult to judge, or do you just rely on instinct?
It's very difficult to judge.
Because it's a very short time that you hear these people or you listen to them. So
and they're in with us for possibly 90 seconds at the most, you know, 2 minutes at the most. It's very tough, because for me as a woman and as a mom, I'm trying to be as kind as I am, even though we fail a lot of the time.
You look them in the eye when you fail them?
Of course. You know, I've got to live with that. So of course I do try. So the two things I always try and remind myself with my checklist: was I honest and was I as kind as possible? So of course it's terrible. It's terrible to tell someone they're not as great as they may think that they are, or their family has led them to believe. But also it just gets very hilarious.
My wife tells me that all the time, but
she's a good woman. She's a good woman.
But it's been a wonderful experience.
It has.
But it's only a small part of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a small part of me, but I think it's a part that people relate to so much, because they're so invested in the process as well, and they feel that they've helped choose the next musical ambassador. So it is a small part of me, but it's a very fulfilling part of my life.
And do these people that you choose, do they go on to greatness, or do they sometimes fade away? You know, I'm still trying to remember who won and where they are now.
You know, it's something I always tell them as a performing musician and a recording artist as well. The moment they win, it's back to the bottom of the playing field, because now they're competing with us. Now they're competing with professionals. And I tell them this, and I'm very honest with them. So unfortunately, we see many of them disappear, but then also we celebrate many of them for so many years. You know, there's Elvis Blue, there's Lloyd Dele, there's Zama Jobe, who never won but is doing incredibly well. And obviously Heinz, who went on to compete globally as well.
But isn't it amazing that we have so much talent?
Yeah. That astounds me every single year. Every single year we get there, and there are 15,000 auditioneers here, 15,000 contestants in each city. And I go, where does all this talent come from? Because, you know, we'll have less than 1% of returnees, but everyone else
Where did your
new.
talent come from?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm just such a busybody, I think, and I hate being bored, and I don't come from an artistic family at all. My father's a psychologist, my mom is a language practitioner in the office of the presidency, and I come from a legacy of hard workers. My mom was a domestic worker, my dad was a male nurse, so that's my kind of upbringing and the example that I've grown up seeing and learning from. But the artistic side and the storytelling side, I have no idea.
The singing?
No idea.
You just started to sing?
Just started to sing. The writing part, the composition part, I get that from my mom. Both my parents are lovers of language, and they're very poetic and elaborate in the way that they speak.
How did they travel? How did you get to Namibia, and how did you get to UK?
What a great story. Well, Dad matriculated and Mom was a domestic worker, and the government at that time didn't allow our people to further their education. And my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was unapologetically all about education, because they didn't get it. So he sent my father to Namibia with my mom. I was 6 months old, my sister was 5 years old, and we all moved to Namibia. My father studied psychology. He finished his undergrad in Namibia, then further furthered his studies in Cardiff in the UK, finished his degree in psychology qualifications, practiced in Brixton in London.
There's no Brixton, I can imagine that must have been...
So colourful.
But you haven't even got a hint of a UK Cardiff, a Welsh accent at all.
I'm a Mexican. I'm so proudly South African. I think it's because I craved South Africa. I didn't live here for the first 12 years of my life. So we would eat the food and they would export the music to us, and that's all I had, and my mother tongue, So for me, I think because I craved being South African for so long, and I knew I wasn't British, I knew I wasn't Namibian. By the time I came back, I sucked it in, and I sucked it in hard. And it's just been absolutely amazing. I often speak to Uncle Hugh Masekela, and he's become somewhat of a mentor to me. And we always talk about how we as South Africans have become cultural consumists, We'd rather just sponge everything else instead of just be proud ambassadors of who we are. A child will go overseas for 6 months and come back with the most annoying twang instead of just, being so proudly South African, and whether our accent is from Cape Town or from like KZN, we're all South African, and that's what I'm obsessed about.
You went to Rhodes.
I did.
You studied journalism.
I did.
What did you want to be? Did you want to be a writer, a journalist, or was this the broader sense, a broadcaster? Because you are in broadcasting today.
I am. I consider myself a storyteller now, but I didn't want any of it.
Why do you say storyteller?
Because I tell stories through my journalism degree,
Okay.
and the production company that I co-own, Lucky Bean Media, and I tell stories on radio. It's a theatre of the mind. So whether I'm interviewing someone or facilitating a conversation, I'm a storyteller in my composition, in my performances on stage. I'm relaying a story, and I'm taking the audience through a journey, through word, through melody. So that's why, because I do so many different things.
Do you write your own music?
I do write my own music. I do write my own music, and that's what.
So it's
what
lyrics
brings me joy.
and.
Yeah, lyrics and melody as well.
What instruments do you play?
I don't play instruments.
You
so
just
I
create it in your head?
Yeah, and I sit with my
wonderful.
keyboardist and I say, give me this melody, and sit with my guitarist, give me this melody, and the backing vocals, I say, let's do these kind of harmonies. So that's from the, basic.
That's only a part of your life as well.
Damn.
You do a morning show.
I do.
What time do you get up?
3:30
Are you
in the
joking?
morning. It's pitch black. The owls are still up.
Every morning?
Every morning, it's pitch black, it's crisp. I literally walk outside halfway through my show and I can literally see the break of dawn. It's a different space.
But you've got children.
I do. I've got 2 kids. My son's 10 and my daughter's 4. But I get to pick them up from school because I'm done at 8. I get to watch every soccer match.
Okay.
I get to watch every ballet recital.
But then how do you manage the artistic side of being a broadcaster, which is a talk show? I would imagine there's a lot of production involved.
There's incredible. We've got a 10-man production team. Literally, there are 4 of us on air, and then there's a 6-man team, just machine behind us. There's a lot of preparation there.
And they feed you what you have to say, so...
Well, not even feed, it's a collaboration, During the day, we're all emailing each other, SMSing each other, but it's a machine that just feeds. We're dealing with 6.7 million South Africans, so there's a certain amount of expectation that you've got to meet, So, and that comes with more minds are greater than one. And
you can handle that pretty easily. Sometimes does it get a bit hot in terms of the discussions?
Completely. It does get very hot. I'm a very outspoken woman, and in South Africa, I think that's very frowned upon. You need to know your place. Are the stereotypes that we're fed? You can't be too opinionated, especially when it comes to current affairs and political issues. So it gets very hot. I do get very overwhelmed. I cry a lot to relieve the stress. A lot of people are like, why do you always cry? And I say, it's because I can't harbor those emotions, whether they're joyous emotions or very dark and deep emotions. So that's what I do. But I switch off a hell of a lot.
So now how do you move from producing a show, finished at 8 o'clock in the morning, you now have got Idols?
Yeah.
How often do you tape Idols? How do they do it?
Idols, we get a 7-week break in the year.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, and first weekend of December is the last show. We start recording the new season last weekend of January. That's literally the only break we get from Idol. So it's been a full-time job for 5 years.
And when do they do that?
During the year. So it's in different pockets. So we have a big pocket January, Feb, then we take a break, then we have another pocket March, April, then we have a hectic week in April, and then it's every week from July until the end of the year.
Tell us about Bad Boy T.
Bad Boy T.
He's on 5FM.
He is. He's on Weekend Breakfast on 5. So we're a broadcasting family. Every morning, when we joke at home, we say every morning is a Msengana morning, because I'm Monday to Friday.
But he must play completely different music to you, is it?
Completely, and I always tell him my ears kind of, get jolted when I hear the music. But he's a formidable broadcaster, and he's taught me most of what I know, and he's been a great mentor. He's the reason why I actually got into radio.
I was going to ask, and how did you meet him?
I met him at Urban Brew Studios when I was doing a music lifestyle show, and he was doing a sports show, and he was running out and I was running in, and he was with a mutual friend of ours, and he took a liking to me and we were very platonic for many years, and he got me onto YFM, which was my first radio gig, and he's mentored me since.
What was your big break? Coming from Grahamstown University.
I had two amazing big breaks. The first was SABC1. I got to host a music lifestyle show on prime time television, which was just a dream for any graduate. And then I started that in April, and the very next month I started YFM. So I've really had an incredible career, and sometimes when I look back, it's been overwhelming, and it's how some of the things that I've done would suffice for just one person, and for me as well. But the opportunities I've been given across the board in the different genres that I play in has been truly overwhelming, truly, truly, truly magnificent.
That's incredible. Well, I was going to ask you one question. So where do you want your children to be? Do you want them to follow in your footsteps, or are you saying, don't do this, become an accountant?
You know what I mean? I was become a lawyer. That was what my parents were telling me.
Say that.
I would love them to be secure enough in their space and in their spirits to truly be able to follow their dreams. My presence, my husband's presence in their lives is enormous, and I hope they use that to inspire them, and I hope it doesn't become any pressure for them to follow in our footsteps. I hope our drive and our work ethic pushes them to dream abundantly.
I cannot believe you do what you do, and that you've got the energy that you have. It's you really make us feel proud.
Thank you so
much. And I love the fact that you're focusing on South Africa, and you're really trying to develop South African talent.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Truly honored to be here.
You've been on the couch with Unathi and David Shapiro.